This is the NIH director, Dr. Francis Collins. Now, if you're not watching The Blaze, you're missing out, because this is a guy who looks to be about 60 years old, with a guitar like a hippie. Here he is singing his super classic, Somewhere Past the Pandemic. This is serious and real.
Somewhere past the pandemic, when we're free, there's a life I remember, full of activity. Somewhere past the pandemic, masks will come off. No more need for a nose swab every time we cough. As we are gathered here today, COVID's toll has hit and sent us reeling. But partners like the ones right here will help to make the pathway clear to find a true healing. Somewhere past the pandemic, life will resume. We'll all complain about the traffic, forgetting how we hated Zoom.
Oh, isn't that great? Yeah. All right, enough. Really this is in a government-sponsored town hall. So HHS employees were all forced to watch this. If you ever think your meetings at work are worthless wastes of time, just play that.
It can't be that bad. Yeah.
This is on your tax dollar dime. And they all took some time to watch that. And I love the lyrics, somewhere past the pandemic where we all will be free. Really? Because all the things you're doing now make sure that we won't be free after the pandemic. And by the way, speaking of that, here is Joe Biden yesterday talking about freedom, cut 8.
And so everybody talks about freedom and not to have a shot or have a test. Well, guess what? So how about patriotism? How about making sure that you're vaccinated so you do not spread the disease to anybody else?
Yes.
What about that?
What about that?
What's the big deal?
What's the big deal, Stu? What is the big deal? What about patriotism?
Doesn't seem like you should care about your personal individual freedoms. You should only care about what Joe Biden wants you to do, apparently.
Thank you.
Which is amazing. This demeaning, we heard Arnold Schwarzenegger do it earlier, and this demeaning of the idea of personal freedom is an interesting path to take here in this moment.
I don't know what do you mean?
I think you could appeal to someone and say, look, hey, if this was your opinion, you're coming from the government, you want to encourage people to get vaccinated. You could say, hey, look, please consider this because it's not only about you being sick, but you might affect someone else who is much more vulnerable than you, and we appreciate your consideration, right? Like there's a way to appeal that way. This idea that they're going down the road of, look, stop with your freedom. Come on, really? Individual rights? Come on. That seems to be their pitch. Now, no one who wanted to actually get someone to take the vaccine would come up with that pitch. It's the worst possible idea to go down that road, but that's the road they keep going down as if that's going to succeed. It might succeed with their friends on Twitter and with their friends in the the parties that they have without masks behind closed doors. Maybe that sort of thing gets a great reaction in those rooms, but obviously it doesn't in real life. Were the people you supposedly want to attract?
Let me ask you a question. When you have the non-vaccinated now barred from movie theaters, concerts, exhibitions, anything in the public. You have vaccine cards issued. You have students that are not vaccine, not allowed to go to college. You have the non-vaccine not allowed to travel abroad. You have people banned from restaurants, swimming pools, parks. When you have the basic human rights violated. Does that bother you at all? Or is this part of the vaccine?
No, it definitely bothers me.
It does bothers you?
It does.
Yeah, why is that, Stu? Why is that?
Well, I mean, as you know,
you can look over you're looking at, you know exactly where I'm going.
I know where you're going with this, and that's why. But I do think it's a very bad idea. Yes, as I, oppose the mandates, as I know you have the entire time.
Right, yeah. 1935, Nuremberg laws deny Jews basic civil rights.
How did we know?
1935 to 36, you're no longer to vote. You lose benefit payments to Jewish families. If you were a Jew, you were banned from parks, restaurants, and swimming pools. You were no longer to use optical equipment, bicycles, typewriters, or records. You were restricted from travel abroad. Jewish students were removed from German schools. Identity cards were issued to Jews. You were excluded from cinema, theater, concerts, exhibition, beaches, holiday resorts. I'm just saying. You probably don't want to go down this. Freedom. What's the big deal? How about patriotism? That's weird because that's exactly what whatever his name was that was in charge of Germany said too. This is for the good of all Germany. Where's your patriotism?
And look, it's interesting that the left will say, of course, obviously this is a terrible thing you shouldn't bring up, and you should be banned from all social media for bringing it up. What's interesting about it is why they say that, right? There are two reasons. One, obviously, this does not need to be said to this audience because they're smart, but obviously we are not at Nazi Germany levels of oppression. We just don't like the road that this sends us down. We're not saying we're at the end of the road, which equals Nazi Germany. I will, whether, you are not vaccinated, you will have flown all over the country. You have visited all sorts of events. What you're saying here is an end of a road that we do not want to take one step down.
What I'm saying is there's two roads. One is brightly lit. One is really nice and clean and leads to a very nice, clean city that we've all been to before and we like. Then there's another one that's very, very dark. It's not well lit. We've not traveled down this road for a very, very long time. And once you start walking down that road, it is harder and harder to get back to the brightly lit road.
Right.
And at the end of that road, there's something really spooky. What do you say we get off of the dark, spooky, broken down road that we know this is the same thing they said in Venezuela. This is going to lead, we said it, this is going to lead to starvation. This is going to lead to executions of people who don't agree. This is going to lead to Cuba. That's ridiculous. This is going to be the greatest utopia of all time. Well, they were on the dark road. You wouldn't get off the dark road. Now, Venezuela's not Nazi Germany. That's kind of in a special class all by itself. Well, no, sorry. Nazi Germany, Russia, and China. Wait a minute. What do all three of those things have in common? That's right. Socialism. Oh, I completely forgot. They all have in common socialism. Get off the road.